Hi students, in this video we're going to look at how we use matrix multiplication in particular to solve problems involving matrices. Right, so our learning goals for this video. So after watching this video you should be able to apply matrices in life-related situations to solve problems. The biggest thing you have to remember is matrix multiplication. It's probably also worth remembering how to also create a matrix as well, one of our very foundational lessons at the very start. Right, so let's just jump into some examples. So at an Italian restaurant, they sell pizzas and pastas. Pizzas cost $18 each, and pastas cost $22 each. On Friday night, the restaurant sold 14 pizzas and 20 pastas. On a Saturday night, they sold 22 pizzas and 32 pastas. On Sunday, they sold 18 pizzas and 22 pastas. Express the number of pizzas and pastas sold on each night as a matrix. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to create a 3 by 2 matrix here. So I might make this first column pizza, this second column pasta, and then we'll have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night down here. And I can just put my data straight into my matrix where the rows and columns line up. So on Friday, the restaurant sold 14 pizzas and 20 pastas. On Saturday, they sold 22 pizzas and 32 pastas. On Sunday, it was 18 and 22. And there's my matrix. So just this bit in the middle. I've written these labels on the sides just so I personally remember which column and which row means what. But the real answer is this matrix that we've written here. All right, so using the matrix P, 18 and 22, that comes from the $18 each here for pizzas and the pastas that cost $22 each. Use matrix multiplication to determine the amount of money earned by the restaurant each evening. So let's draw out our matrix again. And it was 14, 20, 22, 32, 18, and 22. There's my first matrix, and I'm going to multiply that by our new matrix here. 18, 22, and multiplying those matrices together will give us a new matrix. Now what that new matrix will actually give us is how much is actually earned in each night. So let's have a look how we do that now. So multiplying this out, that first row, so first row times this column, it'll be 14 times 18 plus 20 times 22. And then it'll be 22 times 18 plus 32 times 22, and then 18 times 18 plus 22 times 22. Right, all of those values we can just put into a calculator and get our solutions. All right, so I've just put those into my calculator, and those are the values we get at the end there. Now these values are the amount of money earned by the restaurant on Friday night for the first row, on Saturday night for the second row, and Sunday night for the third row. And we got that just by multiplying the number of things we sold of each, pizzas and pastas, by their costs, by their prices. And then when our matrix multiplication does exactly that. Number of pizzas times the cost of pizzas plus the number of pastas sold times by how much they cost. And altogether, that gave us the amount that the restaurant earned for selling those items on those evenings. Right, one other application we can do is creating what's called an adjacency matrix. And an adjacency matrix just looks at how many connections are there between different towns or cities or networks. This might be used in designing things in working out things like traffic flow, and also mapping like connections and networks across social networking sites, for example, which is used in advertising. So We've got our diagram here with 4 different cities. We'll just call them A, B, C, and D. And we need to create a matrix that shows how they're all connected to each other. So we'll create our matrix here. Now at the very top here, I'm going to call this my from side. So going from A, from B, from C, and from D. And on this side, I'm going to say to A, B, C, and D. And then we can fill in our matrix using those rows. Again, we don't need the labels on our matrix to get the 4 marks, but it helps us organize our thoughts and put them all down for us. So looking at our matrix here, going from A to A, well, there's no paths going from A to A. What about going from A to B? There's no paths again. From A to C, there's no paths either. There is one path from A to D. And then we can just continue working through our columns. From city B to city A, there's no connections there. From B to B, there's no connections there either. From B to C, there's one connection. And then from B to D, there's one connection as well. Right, then to C, there's no connections from C to A. There's one connection from C to B. Now from C to C, there's no connections either. And then from C to D, there's actually 2 connections. There's one on the bottom and a second one on the top. So there's 2 connections from C to D. And to finish off, from D to A, there's one connection. From D to B, there's one connection. From D to C, again, there's 2 connections. And then from D to D, there's none. All right, and there's our adjacency matrix showing how connected our cities are. Right, so after watching this video, you should be able to apply matrices in a couple of different life-related situations.